when you get to within one or two repetitions of the end of a set, you should feel like you're working at around about an 8 or above out of 10.
What would you say about reps? Is it good to do lots of reps at a low intensity, or better to do higher intensity at
Mhm.
smaller amounts of reps?
How many reps you should lift and the type of load you lift can vary. So if it's a person who's practiced the movements, they know their range of motion, they know what feels comfortable. On day one of actually starting a new program, they may decide I'm going to do my chair squats. I'm going to do 10, just lifting my own body weight up and down with my hands on my shoulders. So I'm not going to use any assistance. I'm going to try and do this on my own. But actually, this could be somebody who's relatively active and they do their 10 chair squats. And at the end of it, when they finish the 10th repetition, if they were to rate how hard on a scale of 1 to 10 that was, 1 being easy, 10 being super hard, they might think, that was a 3. I can do 10, no problem, really. Um, it's then that you would start to think about, okay, well, how can you introduce more load? So body weight, your body weight through this range of motion is probably not allowing you to work hard enough that it sends an appropriate signal to your muscles that's going to help them adapt and change in size and strength. You probably need a bit more than that. It's got to feel like you've done some hard work. And this is why we tend to do multiple sets of an exercise as well, because it's the additive, the cumulative effect. So your first set of 10 might feel really easy. Second set of 10, you might think, "Oof, well, that's a 5 out of 10 now. That's harder." The third set might feel like, hey, I'm kind of an 8 or 9 out of 10 now. I'm pretty burned out. I don't feel like I could do many more. That's always the point I would encourage somebody to go to. So I think 2 or 3 sets of each exercise, I would aim for 10 to 15 repetitions. It's kind of time efficient. The idea being that when you get to within one or two repetitions of the end of a set, you should feel like you're working at around about an 8 or above out of 10 is what I would encourage people to try and get to. Now, somebody might say, "Oh, well, I'm doing my chair squats. I'm on my hardback dining room chair. I'm doing sets of 15." But even at the end of the final set, on the 15th repetition, I still feel like it's quite easy. It's in that scenario you think about, okay, how am I going to make this harder? How can I increase the load? So perhaps now you hold a weight. Perhaps you can grab something from the kitchen, heavy tin. Perhaps you can use some shopping bags and put something in them and increase the resistance. So it's your body weight plus whatever else. Maybe you buy yourself a cheap set of dumbbells to try and increase that resistance as well. So there are ways we can make it body weight plus in order to ensure we've worked hard enough in each set of exercise. Um, I hope that makes sense and gives you some guide of roughly where to aim.
Part of stress-free longevity is, I guess, trying to find, the most efficient amount, and probably in some ways the minimum amount to encourage people to really adopt, healthy practices. And just when you were talking there, I was just curious, is there an advantage to doing, say, 3 sets of a particular muscle group versus, say, 2 or maybe 1 that goes to full muscle fatigue? Is there an advantage to having more repetitions
Mm.
versus less, I guess?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and of course, everyone's always looking to get the maximum benefit in a time efficient way. We always have to appreciate that. In the context we're talking about today, so healthy longevity, I don't think there's any added benefit to going from the 2 to 3 sets, but it really depends. So, if at the end of 2 sets of exercise, somebody feels like they've perhaps not worked that muscle group as hard as they can, then actually incorporating the additional set on is probably a wise move. Our muscles, in terms of how they sense signals from the exercise, the resistance exercise we perform, and how that is translated into a growth, a remodeling stimulus process in the muscle. It seems that we need a degree of muscle activation, um, which is also determined by how much tension we place on the muscle. So effectively, how hard we work it. So we've come to understand over the years that the volume of exercise we perform on a given muscle group, so that this is complex terminology in a sense, but the volume is, you can think of it as the product of the repetitions. So how many you do, how heavy it is, and how many sets. If you put those three things together, you talk about overall volume. Um, and the volume has to be sufficient in order to cause this activation.